Welcome to True Crime Threads. Today we explore a deadly affair, betrayal, and a shocking twist you won't see coming. Havenwood was a small, picturesque town where faith and community thrived. Nestled among rolling hills and lush greenery, it seemed like a place untouched by scandal. With its cobblestone streets and quaint houses, the town was a haven for those seeking a peaceful life. At the heart of Havenwood stood St. Michael's Church, a historic sanctuary with towering stained glass windows and a bell tower that echoed through the valley. The church was not just a place of worship but a cornerstone of the community. It hosted weekly sermons, weddings, baptisms, and countless gatherings that brought the townspeople together. St. Michael's was led by Father Dominic, a man whose charisma and eloquent sermons made him a beloved figure in Havenwood. His deep voice resonated with conviction, and his empathetic nature made him a confidant to many. Parishioners often sought his guidance, drawn to the wisdom he offered in times of doubt. His dedication to his calling was evident, and his presence commanded respect. To most, Father Dominic was the embodiment of moral strength and spiritual leadership. Among the church's congregation was Camilla Harper, a devoted Christian wife and mother who had lived in Havenwood her entire life. Married to Leo Harper, a successful businessman, Camilla appeared to have the perfect life. She was deeply involved in the community, organizing charity events and volunteering at local shelters. Yet, beneath her polished exterior, Camilla struggled with feelings of emptiness. Her marriage, though outwardly stable, lacked the emotional connection she longed for. Leo, while kind and hardworking, often seemed distant, his focus consumed by his career. Camilla found solace in her faith and threw herself into church activities, hoping they might fill the void in her heart. It was during one such activity, a church outreach program, that she began working closely with Father Dominic. Their shared passion for the mission quickly drew them together, and their conversations, initially centered on the program, soon ventured into deeply personal territory. Dominic listened with an attentiveness that made Camilla feel truly seen, a sensation she hadn't experienced in years. As the weeks passed, an unspoken connection began to form between them. Both were acutely aware of the boundaries that their faith and roles imposed, yet the bond between them grew stronger. Camilla found herself looking forward to their meetings, while Dominic felt a stirring of emotions he hadn't confronted in years. Neither of them realized that their growing closeness hadn't gone unnoticed. A keen-eyed parishioner, known for her sharp intuition and love of gossip, began to suspect there was more to their relationship than met the eye. Father Dominic had long upheld his vows of celibacy and commitment to his calling, dedicating his life entirely to the church. For years he had buried his personal desires, believing his devotion to God required such sacrifices. However, Camilla's presence began to challenge the stability of those convictions. There was something about her warmth, vulnerability, and gentle humor that unsettled him in a way he couldn't ignore. The intensity of his feelings caught him off guard, leaving him conflicted and questioning the boundaries he had so carefully maintained. Camilla, in turn, was equally torn. She had always viewed the church as a refuge, a place where she could find comfort and guidance during moments of inner turmoil. But in Father Dominic she found more than just spiritual counsel. He seemed to genuinely understand her struggles in a way her husband never had. His attentive nature, combined with his wisdom and kindness, drew her in. What began as innocent conversations soon turned into something far deeper. She felt seen and appreciated in a way that reignited a part of her she thought had been lost forever. Their growing bond was subtle at first, lingering glances during meetings, a touch on the arm that lasted a moment too long, shared smiles that conveyed more than words ever could. Both justified their connection as a natural result of working together closely on church projects, yet they couldn't deny the pull they felt toward one another. It wasn't long before their interactions shifted from group settings to private encounters. They began meeting under the guise of planning church events, using the cover of duty to explore the connection they were too afraid to fully acknowledge. These meetings were charged with an energy that neither of them dared name, though they both knew the feelings were mutual. One evening, as they stayed late at the church discussing the upcoming outreach program, the line between professional collaboration and personal longing blurred irrevocably. An emotional conversation about faith and fulfillment turned deeply personal, and the vulnerability they shared became a catalyst for the unthinkable. They crossed a boundary they had both sworn to uphold, and a passionate affair began in the shadows of St. Michael's sacred walls. Despite the intensity of their feelings, guilt loomed over both of them. Camilla struggled with the betrayal of her marital vows, while Dominic grappled with the gravity of breaking his sacred oath. Still, the affair continued, fueled by the belief that their love was worth the risk. Unbeknownst to them, their growing closeness had not gone unnoticed. A parishioner, known for her sharp intuition and flair for gossip, began piecing together the signs of their forbidden relationship. Her suspicions would set off a chain of events neither of them could foresee. The affair came to light in the most unexpected way, shattering the delicate balance Camilla and Father Dominic had fought to maintain. During a bustling church fundraiser on a crisp autumn evening, Leo Harper received an anonymous note. Written in block letters to conceal the sender's identity, it read, "Your wife is breaking her vows with the man who preaches them." The words sent a chill through Leo, igniting a storm of emotions, confusion, betrayal, and fury. At first, Leo dismissed the note as a cruel prank, but the more he observed Camilla's behavior that evening, the more the seeds of doubt took root. She seemed distant, her gaze occasionally drifting toward Father Dominic in a way that now struck him as suspicious. The connection between them, which had previously seemed innocent, now appeared laden with unspoken tension. Leo couldn't ignore the uneasy feeling growing in his chest. Later that night, once they returned home, Leo confronted Camilla with the note. His voice was sharp, demanding answers she wasn't prepared to give. At first, she denied everything, insisting the accusation was baseless. But under Leo's relentless questioning and with the weight of her guilt pressing down on her, she finally broke. Tears streaming down her face, she admitted to the affair. The words hung in the air like a bombshell, detonating the fragile foundation of their marriage. Leo's reaction was swift and explosive. He accused Camilla of betraying not only him but their family and their faith. The man who had always been calm and composed was now consumed by anger, pacing the room and slamming his fists on the table. Camilla tried to explain herself, but her words only fueled his rage. He threatened to expose Father Dominic to the church, to ruin his reputation and ensure that neither he nor Camilla would escape the consequences of their actions. Camilla begged Leo not to act out of anger, pleading with him to consider the impact on their family. But Leo was resolute. He stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him, leaving Camilla alone and shaken. The next morning, Havenwood was buzzing with whispers. The note, or perhaps Leo's confrontation, had set off a chain reaction. Word spread quickly, and by the time Sunday service arrived, the congregation was abuzz with speculation. Though nothing had been officially confirmed, all eyes were on Father Dominic and Camilla. Their every gesture, every glance was scrutinized, feeding the wildfire of rumors. Father Dominic was soon summoned by the church elders for a private meeting to address the growing scandal. But before he could face the consequences, tragedy struck, setting the stage for an even darker chapter in the story of betrayal, jealousy, and revenge. Leo Harper was found dead in the early hours of Monday morning, just days after his explosive confrontation with Camilla. His lifeless body lay sprawled on the hardwood floor of the family's living room, a single gunshot wound to his chest. Blood pooled beneath him, soaking into the polished wood, and a cold, eerie silence filled the once lively home. The scene was discovered by a neighbor who had heard a loud noise during the night and, concerned, went to check on the Harpers. Upon peering through a window and seeing Leo's unmoving form, the neighbor immediately called the police. The Havenwood Police Department descended upon the Harper residence, turning the quiet street into a flurry of flashing lights and activity. Investigators quickly determined that the gunshot wound was fatal and ruled it a homicide. The lack of forced entry suggested the perpetrator was someone Leo had known or willingly let inside. Suspicion naturally fell on Camila, as she was the last person known to have seen Leo alive. When questioned by the police, Camila claimed she had gone to bed early and hadn't heard anything unusual during the night. She insisted she had no knowledge of the crime and tearfully denied any involvement. However, the police were skeptical. There were too many unanswered questions and inconsistencies in her story. Adding to the tension was the discovery that a gun registered in Camila's name was missing. This revelation cast an even darker shadow of suspicion over her. The situation became more complicated when forensic investigators found Camila's fingerprints on a bullet casing near Leo's body. Although she claimed she had never touched the weapon recently, the evidence suggested otherwise. Camila's protests of innocence seemed to crumble under the weight of the mounting evidence. As the investigation unfolded, another figure entered the spotlight: Father Dominic. Witnesses had reported seeing him near the Harper residence on the night of the murder. While Dominic maintained his innocence and stated he had been at St. Michael's Church in prayer during the time of the crime, the proximity and timing of his presence raised eyebrows. The police found it difficult to ignore his potential motive: protecting Camila or silencing Leo to prevent the affair from becoming further publicized. Both Camila and Dominic faced growing scrutiny, and the media quickly latched onto the story, dubbing it a tale of forbidden love and deadly consequences. The once revered priest and the seemingly pious wife were now entangled in a scandal that captivated Heavenwood and beyond. As the investigation deepened, tensions in the community grew. The congregation of St. Michael's was divided. Some defended Dominic, while others called for his removal. Meanwhile, detectives worked tirelessly to unravel the truth, unaware that the most shocking twist of all was yet to come. As the trial began, the courtroom in Heavenwood became the epicenter of a scandal that had gripped the entire town. Prosecutors argued that Father Dominic, driven by desperation and a forbidden love for Camila, had killed Leo in a fit of rage. They painted a vivid picture of a man who had allowed his passions to override his vows, transforming from a trusted spiritual leader into a murderer willing to commit the ultimate sin to protect the woman he loved. Camila, though also under suspicion, was cast in a different light. The prosecution suggested that she had been complicit in the affair but had no direct role in the murder. Her tearful testimony depicted a woman consumed by guilt, her voice trembling as she recounted the events leading up to her husband's death. She denied any knowledge of the crime, insisting she had no part in planning or executing it. Father Dominic, however, faced relentless questioning. His alibi that he had been in prayer at the time of the murder was scrutinized heavily. Witnesses had placed him near the Harper residence, and while circumstantial, the evidence against him seemed damning. His character, once revered, was dissected in court. The media branded him a fallen priest, and public opinion swayed against him. As the trial progressed, the defense team for Dominic began to unearth inconsistencies in the investigation. They highlighted the lack of direct evidence tying him to the murder weapon and questioned the reliability of eyewitness accounts. Meanwhile, Camila's defense maintained that she was a victim of circumstance, dragged into a nightmare she hadn't orchestrated. The turning point came when forensic analysts revisited the physical evidence. A fingerprint analysis of the gun and bullet casing revealed a startling revelation: neither Camila's nor Dominic's fingerprints were present on the weapon itself. This critical detail created a ripple of doubt, forcing investigators to consider the possibility of a third party. The breakthrough came when detectives uncovered the involvement of Marjorie Clark, a longtime parishioner of St. Michael's. Known for her devout faith and keen observations, Marjorie had harbored unrequited feelings for Father Dominic for years. Her jealousy of Camila and resentment toward Leo had festered into an obsessive rage. She believed Leo's death would fracture Dominic and Camila's relationship, leaving the priest vulnerable and dependent on her for support. When confronted, Marjorie confessed. She admitted to breaking into the Harper home, shooting Leo, and carefully planting evidence to frame Camila. Her plan, however, unraveled under the weight of forensic evidence and her own guilt during questioning. With the truth revealed, Camilla and Father Dominic were exonerated, but their lives were forever changed. Dominic left the priesthood in disgrace, and Camilla, ostracized by the community, moved away in search of a fresh start. Havenwood, once a town defined by faith and unity, became a place synonymous with betrayal and tragedy.